Hello, and welcome to Unexplained Possibilities Podcast. I'm your host, Melvin the Crimson Taurus, and unfortunately, Nima can't be here with us today. But as you all know by now, if Nima can't make it, then I have a replacement, and today is no exception. So, how many of you out there believe in extraterrestrial life? Or perhaps interdimensional life? Or any life out there that's not just from this planet? Well, you're in luck because I have a very special guest on today, and she has come in contact with said beings. Please welcome Contactee Morgan. Hey, Morgan.
Hi, Melvin.
All right. So, Morgan and I, we've known each other for a couple of years now, and when I first started Unexplained Possibilities, I asked her to be on, and she was like, "No, I ain't doing it."
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, "Come on, I'll give you chocolate."
Mm.
And she was like, "No, it ain't happening." But now she is finally on, and we're going to get to the reason why she decided to. Now was the time a little later. But first, Morgan, how are you doing?
I'm good today, all right. So, a little bit nervous to be talking about it, but we'll go along.
Yeah, well, you're not the first person to say that because it's tough speaking
Hmm.
about things that are quite literally out of this world.
Yeah.
And, it's the ridicule and no
Hmm.
one's believing you. And then, of course, the famous "you're crazy" it's all in your
Oh,
head.
definitely. Of course. Right.
I've never understood that. Why is it that something that's just different is always automatically crazy? Like, really?
I think it's because most people, I think a lot of people haven't experienced it, and because it's something that's so beyond like this physical world. I think it's like people just kind of go about their day and they don't think of those things.
Yeah, that must be it.
So, but it's ignorance, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, so, it's like,
Hmm.
whatever, fine. You don't have to believe me, but, you'll see
Right,
one day.
exactly. Of course not. Yeah.
So, Morgan, I have to ask, tell me what you have experienced before we actually get into it.
Okay. So, what I've actually experienced and what I believe I've experienced is what we would call an alien abduction. And I've experienced it probably my entire life, over and over again, and more so in my teen years. And not just abduction experiences, but also, being able to interact with these beings on a not so physical level. So more on like an interdimensional level. So that's kind of what I've been experiencing.
And, that's also where people get confused, myself included, where, when I think of things, I usually strictly think of it in a 3D physical plane, but you have to think beyond that. You have to go 4 and 5D and some Doc Brown Back to the Future type stuff. And
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
and this
what
is
is.
where it exists. That's the thing. Um, so it's hard to explain it. It's going to be really hard for me to explain it, but I'm going to try my best. So,
Yeah, so that's all that
mhm.
matters. Just try your best. And for people like me, just explain it like you would a toddler.
Right.
So,
We'll try and make it simple. So,
yeah,
as
that,
simple
that's
as I can.
that's the best way to do it. But
Hmm.
this isn't a simple thing to talk about. You
I
can't.
know it isn't. It's hard. So, uh, but I want to tell people. So, yep.
Why did you decide that now was the time?
Well, I kind of had this realization that it's like life is just so short and you just never know And not just with me, but like maybe the right people who would want to hear something. You just never know what could happen to anybody. And I mean, I do write my experiences down now, and I'm hoping to like maybe publish something in the future. But and I just thought, you know what? Let me just get this out there. It was nagging at me. Just get the information out. It'll get to the right people. It doesn't have to get to everybody. Just put it out there, be honest, because also there's a lot of people out there now that are kind of coming out with their stories, and it's like they're kind of putting on an act with it a little bit and kind of saying things that aren't true. It's like they're kind of over exaggerating, and I anything I say here is 100% honest and genuine, so I want to share that.
Okay, so it's 100% your truth, no
Yes.
exaggerations, nothing.
No, no exaggerating, absolutely true.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the biggest issues when it comes to the paranormal and supernatural.
Mhm.
People do tend to exaggerate
Oh
because,
yeah.
and oftentimes, yeah, it makes for a better story, but at the same
Mhm.
time, it's like you lose bits and pieces.
It's like, well, it's just, some people's stories and the way they produce things, like you just said. It's kind of obvious that it's mm, what's the word I'm looking for? Not fake, but just kind of tweaked a little bit to
Yeah,
kind of go with their beliefs or their opinions on things. And I don't go by that. I kind of just go by what I experienced, you know.
yeah.
So,
So your story's not been altered in any way.
not at all.
And a good example of this would actually be what happened with Travis Walton. And people would probably be more familiar with the movie Fire in the Sky. I think that's the name of it, which is based off his book, and where he spoke about his uh, UFO alien abduction and
Hmm.
how the movie changed some key things, such as him pretty much getting tortured by aliens and stuff. And he's like,
Yeah,
that,
that's what I mean.
yeah.
That's exactly what I mean.
And
So,
he said multiple times, that never happened. That was just Hollywood
mhm.
being Hollywood.
Yeah,
So, okay, let's jump into
right.
it. You ready?
Hmm. All right.
Tell us, when was the very first time you've had a visit?
Okay. So, I'm kind of going to start. Eh, so, things have been happening to me all of my life, but the first very memorable, and I've had experiences with many different beings on, several planes, but my very first experience with um, the the ETs in particular, I guess I'll just refer to them as that for now. I prefer to say star people, but
Okay, that's fine. You
I
can say star
was,
people.
yeah, it's, I was, I think I was like maybe a sophomore, junior in high school, and I was kind of just sitting in class, and I was more worried about going to college and, just graduating, and I've always loved the paranormal and but I wasn't thinking about any of that at the time. And all of a sudden, I'm just, I'm sitting there, and in my line of vision, I don't know, maybe it came in telepathically or, through my third eye or whatever you want to call it. I get this very vivid vision of like what we would consider to be like the shorter grays. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Like
the classic gray and
right,
so
like very short, like 2 foot tall, large head, big eyes. Right. So I get kind of this vision of maybe a group of them just kind of staring at me. And I'm like, why is that coming into my, that's really weird. Like for that to just kind of pop into my head, you know? And I just kind of brushed it off, like, I don't know. Um, well, wouldn't you know, about maybe 2 nights later or something, that was when I probably had the most terrifying episode of my life, which got less terrifying over the years, but the first time was, I was just, I didn't know what was going on. Um, it basically, I guess the only way I could describe it was I went to sleep and uh, I just kind of woke up during the night, but I was very groggy. I can't explain the feeling. It wasn't sleep paralysis. You know what sleep paralysis is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It wasn't sleep paralysis. It was just this feeling of kind of being very groggy, or like if you've been drinking a lot, I guess is the best way to describe it, or somebody slipped something, you know. I was just very like weak. I couldn't really move. And the room was pitch black. I couldn't see anything. And I'm just, I'm laying on my back, and I just noticed, I feel like arms or hands kind of gripping on my wrists and my ankles. And this is seriously something that I'm feeling, and that it's like somebody's holding me down. And when I realize that, I'm starting to panic, and I'm like kind of whipping my arms around and trying to move, but I just felt so weak. And like I said, it wasn't sleep paralysis. It wasn't that I couldn't move. I could move, but it was like just a struggle, and they kept, I felt them kind of pulling me back, and then I felt more hands gripping around my arms. As crazy as that sounds, that's what I felt. And then I started to see like just kind of this red blinking light going into my eyes a little bit, like maybe somebody was trying to check my eyes or look into my eyes. Uh, and I remember screaming. I was trying to scream for my sister or my mom, I think. And I heard myself screaming, and then all of a sudden it just went muffled. Like I was screaming, but I couldn't hear my scream. And this just kind of continued. And then all of a sudden I black out. I don't remember what happened. And the next morning I wake up, and I'm like in total shock, and I'm terrified. And there was times where this went on for a few nights, and then I would wake up sometimes with my pillow just covered in blood
Oh my
from
God.
nosebleeds, really bad. Yeah, covered. It was terrifying. That was kind of the first few experiences for me. It just kind of continued like that. And I mean, I don't know if you want to pinpoint anything, but I would just wake up with these weird marks on my wrists and my, like where your pulse areas would be, I want to say, kind of
Yeah.
on your neck, like it looked like charcoal or something. I don't know what it was. It was really strange. I remember it, and I just remember rubbing it off, and I'm like, what is this? It was so strange. And uh like honestly, the most memorable thing that I will never forget is I've had plenty of these. Like this just went on for months, and I knew when they were coming. I know this sounds insane, but I knew when they were coming because I would lay in bed at night, and I could feel like my whole body would just kind of start vibrating at this weird level, or my ears would start ringing. Like I would get a really high pitched ring in one of my ears, and then I just knew, I'm like, oh no, it's going to happen tonight. I just know it. And I didn't want to sleep because of it. So, yeah, it was really terrifying. And then one specific morning, I woke up, and I don't think I had an experience that night, if I remember, but I woke up and I felt something like kind of itchy. My ankle is a little bit itchy. And I'm like, so I go and look, and I see this, what looks like somebody poked me with a needle in my ankle. Yeah, it was really weird. It was like somebody kind of poked, when you get your blood drawn or something. I kind of look at it, and I'm like, what on earth is that? And why is it so itchy? And it looked like, someone had actually pricked me with something or inserted a needle. Right. And so it was weird. And so I'm kind of rubbing around there, like, what is going on? And all of a sudden, I want to say like right next to it, I just see like this kind of little I don't know if it was metal. I don't know what it was, just kind of under my skin, like under maybe the first two layers of my skin. I could see it looking at it, but it was under my skin. And I'm like, oh, okay, and I'm kind of touching it and I'm like, what on earth is this thing? And all of a sudden, as I'm kind of rubbing it and trying to see it, it literally, I kid you not, it sinks under my skin. I I kid you not, sinks under my skin. I have not seen it since. And I, I wish I had taken a picture or something. It just happened so fast. I didn't know what it was. I just kept touching it and it sank under my skin. I don't know. I don't know if it had, I don't know what they use. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know what the purpose was, but it just kind of, it must have disintegrated in my, I don't know, became part of my body. I don't know. It was strange.
Yeah, that is strange, and
It's,
it reminds me of something that my friend AP said, that he had an implant or something in his knee,
mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
apparently it wasn't compatible with him, and the thing shot out of him.
really?
Yeah, it shot out of him,
Wow.
and he took a picture of it. I'll have to find that picture. I could talk.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I could talk to his wife
Mm-hmm.
who has it, but
And I believe I have other, I mean, I think that I have another implant or something behind one of my eyes, and I'll get to that later if we get to it, but
yeah, and you don't sound crazy when you said that you can kind of feel them and you just know, because other
yeah.
people have said that it's like you
Mm-hmm.
develop
I
some
knew.
type of bond or sixth sense.
Yep.
I don't know, but you you're not alone in that. You don't sound crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Thank you.
yeah, no, that appears to be fairly normal, because again, going back to AP, he said the same thing, and he knew for a fact he was being visited by, well, they called themselves Orion Greys.
The
And
like the taller grays.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I've seen them.
and
And
he knew for a fact, and he could feel them when they would show up, and he said that
mm-hmm.
he got to the point where he was actually able to, like, almost communicate in a way
Yep.
via
Mm-hmm.
telepathy and something. And he
Mm-hmm.
said that, like, he knew when to look up in the sky or something, and he will see a light just shine bright and then fade out or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. So you don't sound nuts.
Yeah, it was true. And to this day, I can still feel them. They don't come to me as often. The last experience I had was maybe a few years ago. I kind of woke up and I felt this something on my pressing against my eyes that, and I don't know what it was. And then I thought I was going nuts because I hadn't had experiences for years with them, but I woke up and my eyes were so heavy and they hurt so bad that I had to like close them and rest because I don't know what the purpose of that was, but they've
Yeah.
just been doing this to me for years. So, and it's not a bad thing. I think there's a reason for it. I mean,
Well,
everyone's reason is different.
yeah, that's the thing, because you don't exactly know what the reason is, and you want to know.
The thing is, I think I do know. I mean, I know that I think that they take different people for different reasons. And I think I know my reason, um, just by the way they kind of bonded with me afterwards, where I started having like the more intimate kind of astral experiences with them. Or, yeah, I guess I can say that. But it felt to me as if I have some kind of connection to them. I know you've heard of star-seeded people here. Um, I don't, there's a lot going on with me. There's a lot about me that I can dig into, but I do feel that I have some type of connection with them. I don't possibly biologically as well. As weird as that sounds, but
Well, no, it doesn't sound weird. It
yeah,
sounds like you're saying that you might be a type of hybrid.
right. Which people might listen to that and think, "What?" But it's true. I mean, the thing is, like, they've been they've been here longer than us, and we have been. I don't mean to sound like this, but we have kind of been test subjects, I guess I want to say. And I think that there are people born here. I don't think it's many of them that do have kind of that non-human, because people will say, well, all humans are technically a hybrid because they had the genetic engineering, how people will believe that too. But I think there are some of us here who have a little bit more, or kind of a different uh like species. And I've met other people like me that actually we look quite similar. It's funny,
No, it
and
is
I could
funny you
just,
mentioned that
yeah.
because I'm thinking
Hmm.
of a person right now who was on the show last month, and that was
Hmm.
Marina Sarin, and
Oh, okay, I know her. Yeah.
and you have some similarities, I would
We
say,
do, don't we?
and
Hmm. And I
it's
could tell she is. Maybe she's listening, but I look at her and I look at her pictures and I could tell right away. I'm like, yep, she's just like me.
yeah. So and oddly enough, you guys both have fairly big eyes, somewhat thin
Hmm.
faces, very long
Right.
hair. You guys
Small
both have,
frame,
yeah.
very,
Oh my God, yes, I've seen your.
just beautiful.
So it is very
Yeah.
interesting, and even if someone's a non-believer or whatever, if you see if the two of you were together and you just saw each other, it'll be like, okay, there's
Yeah,
something's up
I
here.
agree. I know because I see her and I think the same thing. I'm like, she is definitely like me. It's just funny because it's like it's real, like there are people here that do have they are a little they have a little something else going on, you know. And it's not something I like to share often because it's people just kind of look at you like it's funny because you have people who they think you're crazy, and then you have other people, like a lot of my friends or just people I meet would say, I don't think you're human. Like I've had people say that to me before just by getting to know me, and kind of they're like, you can't be human, there's no way. Like it's I don't know if it's just, I mean, even growing up, I had trouble making friends and kind of just forming groups with people, and I think they kind of just maybe it's like instinct, maybe, that they kind of knew something was not right,
Well,
I guess.
it's not that
You,
something wasn't
yeah,
right,
it's just
but
something's different. It's like they kind of it turns them off, but they don't realize what it is.
yeah. So I hope
So,
that's not really the case. But then who knows? Maybe that is the case because we don't.
I think
If
it
they,
is.
if they didn't hang out with you for that reason, then they probably were like, oh man, she's a
Because
serial killer or something. So
because it was early as me being in like kindergarten or preschool.
oh shoot.
The kids, I had trouble. They just kind of left me out, I guess. Didn't really care to be around me.
That
And
is
for
weird.
Yeah, that's the thing. And for years I went through thinking something was wrong, but it's not that. I think it's kind of an instinct where I think they can pick up that something is a little foreign or not. It's weird, because
Yeah,
you don't think that people would think that, but they do. They just don't realize it.
yeah, they subconsciously pick up on
Yeah,
something.
they
So
definitely do. So at least the experiences kind of gave me some clarity about why it was like that for me.
yeah, and speaking of friends, have you told just outright friends and family about your experiences?
No. Um, absolutely not. I I've mentioned it as a joke. Sometimes I'll joke around with people just to see how they react. Like I'll be like, "Oh, aliens, aliens! I'm an alien," just to see how they react. I do that a lot. Or, I'll kind of just be like, "Yeah, I was taken by aliens." Just to joke, just to see how they react, and usually the reaction is like not what I want. So,
Okay,
I
so
kind of just I just okay, leave it at it was a joke.
yeah, just one
It's
of those things. Just joking. Ah, all right, everyone's laughing.
yeah, but it's like definitely not easy to talk about.
Yeah, and that must actually make you feel quite isolated and lonely in some
It
regards.
it does. I feel like I can't relate to most people. Like, people just kind of go about their lives and they're getting married or they're going to work or they're doing this and they're doing that and uh it's like I can't really do those things without kind of bringing my experiences with me and knowing what's out there. It's like I just can't function in society knowing how what's the word? Like what's insignificant we
It's,
are?
oh,
Is
yes.
that the word?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I like saying that myself to give
Yeah.
people a idea on how small we really are in the grand scheme
Mhm.
of things. Okay, and we're back because we had some wicked technical difficulties, unfortunately.
Mhm.
We were saying that you believe yourself to be a hybrid, and
Mhm.
how it's a bit hard for you to also open up to friends and family about some of your
Right.
experiences, and
Mhm.
how people seem to have some type of subconscious sixth sense where they're not trying to be mean exactly, but they somewhat keep their distance,
Yes.
and it's
Mhm.
just it can eat at you.
Right. Oh yeah. Over the years it definitely has. I try to remember that it's that and not me personally. Um, but sometimes I just wish you were normal.
Yeah, but
You know what I mean?
what is normal?
That's the thing. It's like they're really it's you know what I mean. It's like it's like you wish you could just fit in so easily because things would just be easy. But I wouldn't trade anything I experienced or who I am for any of that, really, if I think about it deep down. Um, at the end of the day.
Okay, well, that's good because
Yeah.
sometimes people they don't accept anything, and it's like, nope,
Hmm.
nope, no, I want this and this only, and forget all this other mess, and it's not a part of me. But it sounds like you've done some deep thinking, and you're like, okay, I
Hmm.
accept it. I'm gonna deal with it. Let's see what
Yep.
happens. So that's a good outlook to have, and
Hmm.
in the end, it's not a self-destructive one.
I agree.
You mentioned that you've been visited by a variety of what do you call them? Star people?
Yes.
Yes, a variety of star people. Why don't you share who some of them are?
um, okay, so I'll start with, well, obviously we talked about the shorter beings that we like to call the grays, the shorter grays. Um, which I could actually hear them in my house sometimes. They're they're very small. Um, I also, which okay, I have experienced the taller grays, which I feel I deeply have am connected to the taller grays. Um, and this is going to probably upset or freak a lot of people out, but reptilian beings, I have a connection to them as well. and I have experienced them uh, a lot, even more than the Greys.
Now, that is interesting because reptilians, they tend to have a negative rap about them.
Yes, definitely do. And that was going to be the hardest thing that I talk about in this was the reptilian beings.
Yeah, so that is very interesting,
Hmm.
and I have not met one that I know of, but
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure that, like most things, it's a story that can somewhat be exaggerated.
Yes, I've seen them. I've read them. I know. A lot of the stories about them are a little bit over exaggerated, or they're kind of taken the wrong way. Like I have never had a bad experience with a reptilian, and I guess I'll just explain my experiences with them because uh so have you you know how I mentioned some of my experience is kind of developed to like dealing with them on the astral plane or interdimensionally
Yes.
as if interacting with them. Well, that's how I was able to interact with these beings, and usually it was during sleeping hours. um I've always been able to kind of, I don't want to call it like astral projection. I don't really like that term. I feel like it's too new agey.
Okay.
But yeah, yeah, but I have always kind of been able to leave my, it's kind of like when your consciousness leaves your body and you can kind of experience the spirit realm.
Okay, so it's like you're walking between realities, so to
Yeah,
speak.
that's how it was. And it usually happened during, sleeping hours when I'm sleeping, obviously. But a lot of times it's weird because it's like I would sometimes be out and about, but then I would be also laying there and they would actually come to me and I could actually touch their skin
Oh,
and actually have a physical experience with them.
out of curiosity, what do they feel like?
They're well, from what I remember, their skin is quite leathery and cold,
Hmm, okay.
and their hands are a little bit like the fingers are very, I want to maybe thick and wide, um, and they're very playful beings.
Really?
They're not, yes, they're they're not what people think. They're actually quite like humans in a way. They can be nasty and they can be wonderful. They're more similar to humans than one would think. They just kind of, it's like they're so advanced where they've learned how to kind of walk in between these realms, that most people can't access, which makes them interdimensional beings.
Yeah. Well, I did hear that some beings were interdimensional and not necessarily terrestrial.
Hmm. They can be both, I guess. So, I mean, all spirits technically would be interdimensional, in my opinion, just because I've been able to experience them in a physical manner, I guess. Like a lot of people will say that spirits don't have skin, and I don't believe that for 1 second because I've been able to touch them.
Okay. And
Weird as that sounds.
you said something that really
Hmm.
caught my attention, and that was kind of being in a semi-sleep state where you're able to do whatever. And it's so funny because that's fairly close to a few other things that I've heard. And I've been told that, and I've experienced this. Oh yes, this is one of the rare times Melvin is sharing something. Yeah, where if you're in bed and it's a state where you're sleeping but you're not sleeping, you're like half there,
Yeah,
and
I know what you mean.
you can actually hear voices. Like, I know this
Oh
sounds
yeah.
crazy, but you can
No,
legit
no.
hear voices. You don't know where they're
Mm-hmm.
coming from. Sometimes it sounds like it's a big party, but you can
No,
actually
no.
hear them.
You're you're right, and that is something. You're kind of that's when you're kind of and we can all the thing is we can all anybody can learn how to do this. It's just some people can kind of access it more naturally or easily depending on who they are, I guess. But uh, you that's when you're kind of separating from the physical body. It's really hard to explain, but it's real what you're talking about because I experience it too,
Yeah, so
and
that
I believe you.
you got me with that one. So it's like, oh snap.
Hmm.
So that's good to know.
Yeah.
And it's also good to know that
The only reason I don't,
oh,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I said the only reason I don't like to use the astral projection, like I said, is because I feel like it's so new agey, and I feel like when I'm saying that, it's like people, I think they've overused the term and it's become more trendy, but it's something that I've always been able to do, and I take it seriously now, um, because it can be dangerous, but um, this is where a lot of these beings kind of exist or meet us. And, well, to an extent, I wonder sometimes if they actually take your astral body and not your physical body. I'm
Oh,
still kind of trying
wow.
to figure that out,
You
but
know,
yeah.
you're now reminding me of something that Rose was saying, and that's how she is involved with Zeta Grays. That's what she says anyway. She doesn't know 150%, but she's pretty freaking sure it's Zeta Grays. And she said that they actually take the astral body from her
Right.
and
Hmm.
they do whatever with it. And apparently, because it is connected to the physical body, things happen to the physical body and stuff. So
Hmm. Yeah.
what you're saying is like, okay, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah. Well,
Two different
that's what
people
I
are saying the same thing here.
because they, they're so advanced and they can actually manipulate our dreams. They've manipulated my dreams many times. They can make us think that we're having a dream, but they're actually taking us. And yeah, they can. I think that now that somebody else has said it, maybe I'm right, or that information was channeled through to me because I didn't read about it. I just thought that. Like I would think, well, maybe they're not always taking the physical body; they're taking the astral body, and they're working on the energy blockages or, whatever. And then that's why sometimes you kind of just wake up and it seems like, oh, I was in bed the whole time, but well, you really weren't, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And it's weird because like I've also, when they would be taking me sometimes, I would actually feel myself floating up. And yeah, it a few times and I would be looking down on my bed and I would kind of be terrified and I would feel myself kind of moving up towards the ceiling and I'd try to be reaching for my bed and then I would just black out.
You know what? That also sounds like the classic abduction. You know how people
Right.
used to say they would somehow go through the roof of their home and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they said, "I remember seeing a light." So that's that's pretty
And I've seen
interesting.
lights. I've seen the lights as well outside my window. So,
Oh,
um,
wow.
yeah, it's funny. It's like that's how and see that I like that you're saying that because it shows that it's real.
Yeah,
It's like one person. It's like people, a, a few or however many of us have been experiencing this and it's real. We're all saying the same thing.
yeah, I mean,
So,
but so since we're on the little topic of them taking people and stuff, in AP's case, his was very unique. And I don't know if they kept coming to you like they were in that frequency, if it would have happened with you. But for him, he was actually taken so many times, he got to the point where they got to know him, and he said that he was
Oh yeah.
actually able to walk around the ship. Like he could remember being in the ship, actually seeing test tubes with quote unquote hybrids, and like seeing the controls and all that mess.
The thing with me was I it's like I do remember okay, how do I even all right. So first I'll start with there was one experience where um I remember I was kind of I must have been on the ship or so I don't know. I looked out, there was a window, and I look out and I just see kind of stars moving past me or something. Like it just looked like I was flying through space. It was really strange. And then later on, more experiences. Well, remember how I mentioned the reptilians? I had similar experiences with the taller grays being able to touch and feel their skin, and they would interact with me. Like on that level of maybe not being in my physical body. I don't really know. But um, it's like that's how I kind of knew that maybe there was definitely some connection or family connection, biological, because I just feel like if it were everybody, they would take everybody and do that, you know?
Yeah, so it's very interesting, and unfortunately, this is one of those things where I don't think we'll ever get the answer, or at
Right.
least the answer that you will
It's
be satisfied with.
yeah, it's weird. It's just a
So,
weird experience. I don't ever remember being like walking around with them physically, knowing where I am fully. It was always that I was kind of, they would have me in a, I don't know if they didn't want me to see them fully or I just don't remember.
yeah, now that's something
But
else I heard, that they don't oftentimes show themselves because
right, they didn't. A
people,
few times they did, but
yeah,
it was
people, they freak out because it's just so different than what we're
right.
used to seeing.
The
Which,
only time I really saw them was during one abduction where I saw them kind of three taller beings just kind of walking through a door. It's like a door had opened and they were walking through. And I saw the head shape and the, you know, thin body. I knew who it was. And I saw them kind of walking towards me. And I just, like I said, I was in that state where I felt like somebody drugged me or I don't know. And I just kind of
yeah, you
blacked out.
were very hazy, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to explain how I don't know if they tranquilize me. I mean, I don't know, Melvin. It's hard to explain the feeling,
It's just something you
but it's
have to
like
experience to
yeah,
get.
they did not want me fully awake or fully there for some reason, even though there's some connection. Like, they just, I don't know what and I'll never find out the answer unless they tell me, I guess. I'll never understand it.
You could turn into like um, extraterrestrial star person, secret agent, double O Morgan or something.
Yeah.
Go at it that way.
I wish that sometimes I wish they would just kind of, but I don't know. For some reason, they don't. And I don't know why. I don't have all the answers to it. This is what I experienced, and this is why I think I did.
It's funny you say you don't have the answers and you want to know,
Hmm.
because again, that's a reoccurring theme. Everyone wants to
Hmm.
know the reasons why. And why do you think they come to you?
Well, I think, okay, like I said, so you know how we were talking about hybrids and how there's, you know, probably a few hundred of us here. Or I don't even want to say hybrids. I want to say people who maybe carry a little bit of, they're human, but they're a little bit more,
Okay, a
you
little
know,
extra.
because because they've been manipulating genetics for thousands of years. So I think they kind of, I don't know if it's what I'm getting. It's funny because like I'm getting the answers through me right now. I think they pick certain people with, I don't know if you believe in past lives, or it's like they pick certain people whose soul and like biological body kind of interests them, or that they choose for something, or that they'd like to watch how they live here.
Huh.
I don't know why it's coming down to me like that,
Yeah,
but
you might be
it's like they,
channeling something right now.
yeah, it's like they pick certain people. Um, and I'm also hearing that sometimes it could just be that you're in the wrong place at the wrong, like, because you hear about people, they'll have one experience and that's it. And sometimes you could be in the wrong place at the wrong time and they just, take you to test on you. But then there's most of it is they are interested in certain people's souls, who they are, who they were in past lives. I don't know why it's coming to me like that. Um, I don't even know how they would know that, but they're so advanced that I would think they would know. They're so advanced on a spiritual level.
Yeah, it's not just a
Uh,
technological level, it is a spiritual level as
yeah,
well.
definitely.
And
They're also I think that they're quite synthetic. I want to say. Is that the word I want?
synthetic,
It's
you can
it, it's like they're physical, but uh, they're just not. They're not like us. They're not like dense meat bodies. You know what I'm saying?
oh, okay.
It's hard. It's so hard to. They're just so beyond that it's um we don't even know what they know and what they're capable of. So
Yeah, which I try to tell people, you know how you have a couple of doomsday people and they'll say they're all demons and this and that, and I'm like, and they're gonna take
oh
over the
yeah,
world.
yeah, I
And
know.
I like to tell
No.
them that, believe me, if they wanted to take over the world or blow it
That
up or whatever, it would have been done 10 times over
oh
by
yeah.
now.
It would have definitely. They are I mean, they can manipulate our dreams.
Yeah,
They are so advanced that it's like we are guinea pigs. Like we are lab rats. No offense to us or anybody on this planet, but we are
yeah, it is what it
literally,
is.
yeah,
I mean,
they are superior in many ways. But that they don't intend to hurt anybody. I really don't think that. I think it's rare that they would intend to hurt someone.
I guess old David's having a rotten day up there. He's like, I'm gonna show you and take it out on a human or something, I guess. So,
No, well, the thing is, with being such an advanced being, also comes the like that compassion and most advanced beings are not animalistic predator killer. That's a very low vibration. That's like the vibration of the demons that we like to call them demons, that possess people. And I think that they have good intentions.
yeah, okay, that's good to know. All right, going back to star people that you've seen, I
Hmm.
recall one time you told me that you had interactions with the Mantis.
Yes, I almost forgot about the mantis. How could I forget? And I think that I have a connection to them as well. Um, yeah, this one was he's um it's like I don't even want to call them mantis because they look similar to the tall grays. There's just like a slight variation in like the body structure and the eyes, but they are also interdimensional beings, and they're actually very high level beings. Um, and this one was it's like the experience I had with this one was that he, like, I know it was a male because I could hear the voice, and I would also get like visitations at night. Where I said about being in the astral body and you're just kind of floating there,
Yep.
and they can come down or come through. And he would come through. I would feel it. I would feel like a pressure coming against my body, and I would just kind of get a vision of him, and very similar to a tall gray wearing a robe, kind of like a purple robe. And he would come up behind me, and I would just feel this heat and warmth behind me. Definitely some kind of healing energy or something. And I remember I would wake up and the room was just, I don't know, just bright and warm. He had a very good healing energy, this being, about him. And I liked knowing that he was there. And this happened a few times where I would get the visitations, and I actually don't know who this being is to me or what the connection is. I haven't experienced him for years. So.
That's interesting. I wonder where he
Mm-hmm.
went to then.
I honestly don't know. That's the thing. I haven't had contact with them for years. Like the last, like I said, was when I woke up with my eyes in pain. I think that was the last time, and that was 2016, 2015. It was earlier, yeah. So it's been a few years.
Yeah,
and like I said, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know, maybe they come at certain times in your life. That's what I'm just kind of came to me for some reason.
Yeah, I was going to say that it seems like for women, a lot of times they come in their teens, more so than
Yeah.
anything, and
Mm-hmm.
and then it seems like they just vanish almost. But then, saying that, every now and then someone will say that I feel like I'm being watched. I feel them around me.
And I do, like I said, I do feel them. I will still get sometimes the vibrations, the body vibrations, and I know that they're there. I know they are, but they just I haven't experienced them. I have more experiences with other beings, uh, like the Fae, and but that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
There's so many different spirits and beings out there. I don't know why I don't interact with them anymore so much. I would think that I would, especially since I'm kind of coming more into my, what I'm able to do and becoming more conscious of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I nothing really since that last experience. It's really strange, but I guess they don't speak. It's weird. They don't. It's like they're so mysterious, I guess.
Yeah, I guess they'll just pop up when they feel like it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It seems like they just don't. I don't know. It's like I can't even. They're just so advanced. Maybe they don't. It's weird because if you think if you have a connection to them in some way that they would continue to make a visit or contact or something.
Yeah, well, I did hear that they don't want to get emotionally attached because that will complicate whatever it is they're
Really?
trying to do.
Really?
Yeah, and
That's really strange because they seemed like that with me, at least one of the beings.
yeah,
Um,
well, You have to remember, for instance, if you're a doctor and you have several patients or whatever, like, of course, you're going to have your compassion and you're going to do your darndest to help them. But let's say something goes wrong, like terribly wrong, and you're going to feel bad, but you still have several other patients you need to go to. And if you're overly attached to this one patient, something could go bad to with the other ones, and you just
Hmm.
can't do that. So when I say they might not be emotionally attached, I don't necessarily mean that they're just closed off and just like, whatever, we're done with you, like a used diaper or something.
Yeah,
But
that's how I
yeah,
felt for
no, no, no.
years, kind of. But
Yeah, I don't mean it like that, but I do mean that they have to keep their emotions in check and they don't want to get attached to where it could complicate other things that they want to do because if you get attached to someone, you're always going to want to see them and talk to them and check up on them. And sometimes you
right.
just can't do that.
Hmm. It could be that. Like I said, I'll never know. You just, um, it's like they're there, but they're not there. It's like they have that. I mean, my God, I think I have implants. You know, they're there. They can reach me, but eh, maybe they choose to watch. Maybe is what I'm hearing. They choose to watch instead of interfere, uh, unless needed, I guess. But
How was it when the realization hit you that you were met by someone who's not human?
well, um, honestly, because I was always into the paranormal. I thought it was I like my first I remember I think my first reaction was after I was done being terrified
Yes,
because
of
I was
course.
terrified. um I think it was like, "Oh my gosh, this is why. Like this might be the answer to why I am the way I am, why people react to me a certain way." Um and it was right around the time that I kind of started having this mini kind of like awakening where I started seeing the number sequences. That's like a big thing. Um, and I started kind of noticing that I had some strange psychic abilities and stuff like that. So it was kind of just all tied into one. And everything just started to make sense about why I never fit in and this and that. You know what I mean? So I was kind of excited about it. And at the same time, I was so confused. I'm like, so I remember like I would have these experiences and then I would say, show yourself physically. I want to see you physically. Show me. Like I remember it's like I would always be looking for them.
Wow,
But
again, you sound like Rose. She said the same exact thing, almost
right.
word for word.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah. Well, that makes it true then.
it's something. So that is that's pretty
Hmm.
hilarious.
Yep. But I guess maybe it happens when I least expect it.
Yeah, it never happens when you want it. It's
Right.
always
And I don't, yeah, like, I don't think they really want to be seen. Um,
yeah.
but,
All right. So now, have you had some negative experiences?
um, I wouldn't want to say negative. I just think that I kind of took it the wrong way. Like I said, remember when I said that I would wake up with blood all over my pillow, nosebleed, really bad?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're like a very religious person and you're experiencing that, you might think it's demonic attack or something. I just I don't think any of it was negative at all. I think there was all a purpose to it. I have had negative experiences definitely with other beings, um, but that's a whole different thing.
For the most part, it's just, you know,
Yeah, with the star people, the extraterrestrials, I really have not had a negative. experience with them.
All right. And then
Mhm.
I heard too, I don't know how legit this is, but I heard that also because sometimes the memories are messed with, you implant your own memory sometimes, and it's not always accurate, and you think the worst when it wasn't.
As memories, as in,
Like, let's see, what was it was it was another person in the UFO field I was talking to, and they were saying that sometimes your memories are not erased but stored elsewhere, and you might remember things in fragments. And
oh no, you know what? Now that you say that,
uh,
not to cut you off or
no, go
anything,
ahead,
but
cut me off.
um, well, it's just that it's like I'm so sorry because there's just so many experiences that I've had over the years that it's hard to remember each and every single one, you know? And I just I remember this one time they must yeah, like they must erase lasers. I don't know. I mean, like I said, they can manipulate dreams, but I remember I was driving in my car. Like this was very specific. I was driving in my car. Um, and all of a sudden I got like this weird flashback something of me sitting in the like there like if you think of a classic alien ship or a plane or something in the front and I'm sitting in the side and there's a what you what we would call a taller gray right next to me and he's like telling me to come closer or something and I'm driving and I'm just thinking of this flashback and I'm like what and it kind of gave me shivers a little bit like I was sitting there having a conversation with him and he was telling me it was okay to come closer and it just gave me the shivers and I just thought did I make that up or is that what is that you know and I never really understood that because it felt like it had happened but for some reason I can't recall it happening it just kind of popped up.
Yeah, what I was gonna say was sometimes your memories it might be in fragments, and a piece will pop up here or there, and when you try to piece it together, you may not always piece it together right because other pieces are missing, and you create a negative experience in your mind when there wasn't
Oh
one.
yeah,
So,
that too. Mm-hmm.
but wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you are having some little memory fragments pop up here and there, though.
That's the thing. I feel like
That's
I've really known these beings or one specifically, maybe. Um, and it's just, I don't know why they choose to not let me see, or why would you give me do it just to erase or whatever. I don't know. Or maybe it's just that I don't remember I don't know. Like I said, I don't have all the answers.
yeah, that's just it's just one of those things where hopefully one day you'll get the answers that you seek, but for right now, it's just one of those things. All you can do is theorize and guess. That's pretty intense though. Having a
I
conversation
know,
just
right?
right there, like, "Hey, how's your day?" "Oh yeah, it was
Well,
good, man."
I just remember specifically him saying, come here, like, come closer, you know? And I was scared. I was sitting on the side and I was kind of nervous and made me kind of shiver a bit like it had happened, but I don't remember it. It's just kind of popped up in my head. And I thought that had to have come from somewhere.
Here's one for you. I think I already know what you're going to say, but if one of the star people were in front of you right now and they will do whatever you want, whatever you ask of them, what would you
Hmm.
ask them?
What would I ask them
Yeah,
to do for me?
to do for you, answer for you, whatever.
Well, the first thing I would probably ask is, why me specifically? Because I want to know the exact answer. I can only give so many reasons why I think. And then I would honestly would ask them if they could stay or be here more often in that way. Because it's just when you have a connection with them like that, it's and you don't have connections with the people around you so much. It's like you wish they were there,
Yeah,
you know?
it's an emotional support, and it's
Right.
almost like a weird friendship.
Yeah, it's like you wish you just had a friend that could understand. I wish they could be that for me, but uh, I guess that's what I would say.
All right, star people, you better be
Yeah.
listening. Make it happen.
Damn right. I've been asking for years, but nothing yet, so.
So make it happen. Your, how do I put this? Your emotional attachment to, um, I won't say Mantis since you don't really want to call him that, but we'll just say we'll call him the Godfather for right now. Ooh,
The
that's
Godfather, that
yeah.
is what he seems like, so
Oh, look at
that
that.
works.
Okay, so your attachment to the Godfather, do you feel that that was a genuine bond, a genuine attachment, and it went both ways, or could it have been just a one-way thing?
Um, I believe with how many times this being kind of came to me, I think that there was some kind of bond, possibly family, or I don't know, it could be anything. I think there was some kind of two-way. It maybe like an it's like knowing each other, or I guess that ties in with like the star seed thing where you come into the human body to have the human experience. So maybe I could have known this being, or maybe there was something specific that happened when they took me, um, or I don't know, maybe it's like they pick and choose. I'm not sure, but um, I think it has more to do with the bond regarding who I am, I guess, on a biological level. Yeah.
And from all your experiences, what have you learned? Because I'm assuming you had to have learned something about yourself that you didn't know.
Well, I've learned that okay, this is going to be a little complex. I've learned that no matter what I do or how hard I try, I'm not going to fit in here. And that was kind of a slap in the face a little bit. Like, it's like no matter where I work or where I go to school or in a lot of my friendships, it's like it's just not gonna click. It's like I'm here, but it's like I'm not really, or I have to find, I have to make a new path for myself and other people like me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was just, but it was, I mean, I guess that gave me comfort as well. It's like I understand now. So I don't have to try so hard anymore for people to like me or understand or try to fit in at this job or that place, or because it's just not going to happen. There's too much going on a spiritual level for me to even come close to living the way other people do, I guess.
Gotcha. All right, now,
Not to offend them, but
oh please, if someone gets offended, they get offended. Whatever.
yeah, it's
just
just the way it is.
just fan them away. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so I want to know and be honest. Do you think it's kind of cool that you had interactions with people not from this planet, or at least perhaps
Yes.
not even this dimension? You know.
Yes. I think that it's I like I said, I in the beginning I wouldn't trade it for any anything. Like people have these beautiful homes and big weddings and a perfect family and perfect this and perfect job, all this money. I wouldn't trade it for anything because being able to experience that is just, I mean, it's incredible, you know? It just opens you up to a whole new way of thinking, and it helps you understand in the universe, with regards to like the dimensions, like we said, um, time and space and all of that. And it, I don't know, it just makes you so much. It's just changed me in so many ways that I can't even. Just the way I make decisions, the way I look at things, I'm not easily manipulated. It's like, I don't know, it just changed a lot, you know? Um, but yeah. Mm.
And you know what? This is where we're, well, about to end it, but I want to give you a final say on something. And I think this is pretty important. There are a lot of people out there, young, old, who are getting visited by beings from outer space, another dimension, what have you. And they also feel that they can't share with their friends or their families because of ridicule, or and they feel like it's just them against the world.
Right, like how I felt.
Yeah, and some are very afraid and they feel they can't handle it. What would be your advice to them?
Um, all right, well, my advice would be to actually, honestly, don't talk about it at first because I didn't. Just as scary as it is, just kind of keep it to yourself. I would write things down. I wish I did this and I never did. Write down every time you have an experience. If you wake up in the morning and you think you were taken or you saw this or just write. Just start a journal and start writing. It'll really help you a lot. I wish I did that, honestly. And what helps is to do a lot of research as well. Like, don't watch like those movies about, like the alien invasions, and just yeah, do your research, and find, a lot of people will try and find like groups on Facebook, that I personally didn't like those because I had bad experiences in them, um, with people just kind of being competitive about the experiences and kind of shooting me down a bit. So just be careful. It's better to have one person that you could find in those groups that you could really just kind of talk through messages one on one to be able to share. Um, but I guess that's the only advice I would give, and that's just coming from me.
I'm going to ask you to be back on because we're going to have a follow up on this. This is very interesting. You're giving out good information, and it honestly seemed like you were channeling something at the moment.
I think I was. Um, I think they were, like I said, things just kind of pop in my head. So, uh, yeah, I'd love to be on again, definitely.
Thank you so
Mm-hmm.
much for coming on. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
of course.
And
Thanks for having me.
no, and super thanks for, sharing your story. I know it's not easy, but you did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate
Yeah.
that. And I'm sure the listeners will appreciate it as well.
Yeah, I hope so. I wish I could get into more detail about some of them. It's just there's so many, I could go on and on, I guess.
Well, don't worry, we'll have a part two eventually. So,
Yeah.
all right. With that said, guys, don't forget to follow Unexplained Possibilities on Facebook and Twitter. Those links can be found in the description below. Also, Morgan, thank you again for coming on.
Mm-hmm, of course.
And remember, guys, there are things that go bump in the night. Go ahead and tell them hi. Bye, everybody.